So good morning, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for being with us today. My name is Giorgia Rambelli. I'm the coordinator for Sustainable Resources, Climate and Resilience at ICLE European Secretariat. And it's my great pleasure to welcome you today to our Urban LEDS second Tools and Solution workshop. It's a peer-to-peer workshop that will really focus on how to build a municipal climate fund and many others innovative financial solutions. This online workshop is part of a series of peer-to-peer exchanges that are dedicated to urban-led cities worldwide. And we really hope that it will be a great opportunity for all of you to exchange with your peers and learn more by participating here with us and to discuss with our experts and with your colleagues on the line today. Cities are on the first line when it comes to responding to the challenges of climate change. And also they are tasked with the real difficult task of fostering sustainable urban development for their own communities. Nonetheless, to meet these objectives, they need access to knowledge, they need access to information, but also adequate resources that unfortunately are not available too often. They are not able sometimes to attract adequate investment, difficulty in accessing financial flows. All of this, of course, hinders the possibility for them to be as effective as they would like to be in fostering low to no carbon emission and climate resilient development. Although in recent years, significant strides have indeed been made with regards to availability of climate finance, but also accessibility of funds, still often, unfortunately, there are some hindrances and some difficulties in accessing financial institutions. Very often, the same financial institutions find difficult to identify fundable projects, and cities can still struggle very much in designing high-quality projects and programs. And this creates a bit of a discrepancy between supply and demand. The ability of mobilizing private finance, for example, continues to be still limited, often due to the risk involved for both the public and the private investors themselves. This extensive capacity that is often required to pull together, manage different types of funding sources, but also the difficulty in learning how to best aggregate projects are some of the main issues that local governments worldwide are still unfortunately facing. In the interactive workshop of today, we wish to discuss and to learn more about different types of concepts, including revolving funds, but also internal contracting, and even dig our toes a little bit into different types of community finance. This is not all, though. We will not just share with you some insights on how these different models and mechanisms can be implemented. We really aim to help, together with the selected experts that will be accompanying us in this discussion today, and together with your peers, of course, to provide with tools to build your own concept. And our hope is really that you will be able to leave the session of today with a tailored strategy ready to be presented to your own stakeholders in order to be able to quick drive some new change and some new projects to steer the sustainable energy transition and your local low to no emission development. So finally, during the session of today, we also will be providing several examples of innovative financing schemes, a few strategies with a long track record of successful implementation. We will include not only municipal mechanisms, but also look into innovative financing mechanisms together with the private sector and from the bottom up together with our community. So this array of solution, hopefully, will be a possibility for you to draft your own personal strategy, something that fits to your context and to your needs. So a lot of expectation from the program of today, but before we get started with this great program, I would like to share a couple of housekeeping rules to make sure that our conversation goes on in the most effective way. So first of all, we would kindly ask you to please rename yourselves, including your name, last name, and your city or organization. You can do that easily by right-clicking on your name that you see on the participant list and just typing in your new credentials. This will allow us to, of course, make it more personable and also to have better and more direct exchange. The second request that we would kindly have for you, as you probably saw, you were muted upon arrival, but able to unmute yourselves. We will kindly ask you to keep your mic and your camera please turned off while not speaking. This is just to save bandwidth, but also to avoid echoes on the background. So please try to be as interactive as possible with us by raising your hand and typing your questions into the chat. We also want to note, of course, that you are being recorded. So this session is being recorded for the purpose of sharing afterwards. And we, of course, hope that we will have all of your consents in order to make it public and to share with other colleagues the discussion of today. Maybe you can go to our next slide, please. And I will take you quickly through the agenda. So as mentioned before, we will have a first phase in our agenda. We will be setting the scene a little bit, taking stock of what we know so far, but also trying to understand what are your learning and your expectations in terms of what we will be discussing today. As I said, as practical as possible. Anytime, please feel free to put your questions into the chat. Let's try to make this a very interactive discussion. The second part of our agenda of today includes the possibility to really deep dive into some of the innovative financing mechanisms that we want to present with you. And we will have an opportunity to learn a little bit more about what do we mean by revolving funds. What does it mean to interact with different types of community funding? And we will have the help of our experts, who I will introduce very shortly. They will take you through this discussion, giving you some ideas from the first-hand experience and from other cities' first-hand experience. Then finally, we will go into the real, let's say, clue of our conversation, where we will be dividing ourselves into different breakout rooms. You don't have to be doing anything really. We will just split you into different breakout rooms where you'll be able to have more of an in-depth discussion with the expert. And of course, we'll lead the conversation with you and try to support you and identify what are the potential strategies for your own personal context. So the breakout rooms will be automatic. Again, you don't have to do anything. The colleagues in the room will explain to you how this works. And you will be able, of course, to unmute yourself there as well and to ask all of your questions and interact with your colleagues. At the end of the discussion, we will have around, let's say, 1 hour for discussion there. You will come back into the plenary format where we do a nice wrap up, trying to understand a little bit what are the key outputs of your conversation, the main lessons learned, the type of formats that hopefully you have identified for your own local governments and that you can implement with your own projects in the future. And then finally concluded with a farewell message and some final remarks. So it's a quite dense agenda with a lot of opportunity for exchange, and we truly hope that you will be able to take the most advantage of the opportunity of this workshop today. So I already mentioned the colleagues that will be leading the conversation with us today. Can I please ask you to go to the next slide? So the two, let's say, men of the hour for the conversation of today will be our two expert, Joao Caleto. Joao is an environmental engineer. He started his work in a research institute, but since 2008, he has been part of a General, coordinating several different local, national, and European projects focusing on climate change and on climate action. Joao supports the sustainability and climate policy of the municipality of Almada in Portugal, with really the ambition of transforming the city into a more inclusive, sustainable, lively, and participative territory. The second expert is Pedro Gomez. He's also an environmental engineer. He has joined Almada Energy Agency as General since 2018. He has been coordinating also several projects both at the national, local, and European level. And again, he has been focusing in particular into citizen engagement and promotion of sustainability forms, including in particular different processes and projects around mobility and in general the support of climate mitigation and climate adaptation in the municipality of Almada as well. On top of our two experts, who I will give the floor to in a few instants, I have the pleasure to have with me also my colleague Silvia Salini and my colleague Juleni Mana Sobrinho. Both of them will be supporting the conversation of today, not only with their insights and their expertise, they are both part of the Sustainable Resources, Climate and Resilience team at ICLE, but also giving you technical advice. So should you have any issue with the technology, please feel free to chat the two colleagues and they will be happy to support you. So that said, I think it's time for me to give the floor to Joao and to Pedro and to wish you all a great discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Georgia. Joao, if you don't mind, I can now start and do the icebreaker exercise. First of all, welcome everyone. This will be, well, in times of COVID and also due to all the limitations of not being able to attend in person, we will try to make this the most interesting experience possible for everyone. So the idea.
Okay, so we go back now just to Zoom, and I will share.
Thank you very much for everyone's participation in this first exercise.
Thank you, have been great. And now I will share the presentation if I can. Just 1 second. Okay, share. And okay. And now, hopefully you are all seeing my
yes,
presentation. Okay, great. So I will try to be as brief as possible, and Sylvia will also be here to help me if I get out of track. And we will go through a little bit on these concepts. This will not be a kind of a lesson. We will mostly share our experience and some other funds that are already in place. So we will not go into an academic discussion on these issues. It's a very practical one, basically I will set up our framework, where we work, where we come from, and then explain a little bit about our fund. We will then have a short break, go back to Miro, start building some ideas on what is your needs, and then come back a bit again to the presentation, going a bit deeper on how our fund works. And then finally, as in the agenda, we will build our own fund. So just a quick setup of what will happen. So we come from a local energy agency, which is Ageneal. It's located in Almada, a city which is in Portugal, near the capital, Lisbon, in the same metropolitan area. And it's a local energy agency that has lots of associates, private sector, also from the public sector, big energy companies, the National Energy Agency, research institutions. So a big number of different kind of associates that are relevant to the energy sector in Almada. So we were created as a private not-for-profit association, although the municipality has the biggest share in the association. And we were created in 1999 with some European funding. So here we also take advantage of some existing funding and some broad objectives related to energy efficiency, and also to set up ourselves as a forum for energy and climate that would bring together the main actors, the main stakeholders in the city. We currently have 16 associates, formal associates in the institution. So this is just a picture of our house where we work. This is the environment house from the municipality, and we rent a small part of this building, where we also work very closely with the environment department of the municipality. So it's a very fruitful cooperation between us and them. Just a picture of our city, just for you to know that this is a very urban area, although this is not the whole municipality. We have also some rural areas. You see there the bridge to Lisbon. Probably you have seen it, and you have the Christ statue that is very visible to Lisbon. If you have not visited Lisbon, I would say as soon as possible, just come in and have a look and cross the bridge and see Almada. So as I mentioned, there is a mix between a very tight urban area and then some natural areas. We have a great area of beach and natural parks, and we are very close to the city of Lisbon. And there you see an image, a typical image in the morning, where all the cars go through Almada to go to Lisbon. So as mainly all European cities, the sectors with the biggest energy needs are the transport and buildings, so which is basically where we address the most. This is just an idea of how CO2 emissions go in our city. So as you see, transport and the sector buildings, residential and commerce, are the biggest share of CO2 emissions. This is normal in all cities. Also, just an idea of the evolution of emissions. This is something we do every year, trying to keep track of what's going on, and you can see that there is some increase again in 2008, basically related to transport. We now know that in 2020, 2021, because of the pandemic, it has lowered a bit. So this is just a brief framework, so you know where we stand. And the energy agency works into areas, mainly the local area and at the local level. So all the municipality, and then working at the municipal level. And this has to do with the city council services, like the public lighting, the sports facilities, these kind of public services that are energy consuming and that we also address. This is also an overall of our overall strategy. So we have the mitigation actions, we have the adaptation actions. All of this is combined in our local climate change strategy. And around all of these actions, it's the climate forum, which is what we aim to be effectively and bring also other stakeholders, not only the associates of our energy agency. And the Almada Climate Fund, which is what I'm going to talk about, is an instrument that was created to support all of these climate actions, and specifically to support energy efficiency and renewable projects. These are some examples of projects that have been already financed by the fund. So like 100% LED traffic lights, and also smart public lighting, solar hot water. So all of these kind of investments in energy efficiency and renewable energy are financed through this fund. It was built in 2009. So you have some numbers there. I'm not going into detail on the numbers, but basically you can see that there was a big investment on all of these projects, and that you have relatively very good payback, because you are saving 375,000 euros per year on energy costs. So between 2009 and 2006, this was what happened. The fund had some innovative thinking, because it was linked to the CO2 emissions of the city. I'm not going into detail about that, because now it has been refurbished. And here you see some other exemplary projects. So solar hot water in municipal sports buildings. So this is a swimming pool. You can see on the top left side the swimming pool. This is nearby the beach. the public telemanagement system, so we can control the light, the amount of light, and reduce the amount of light in the night to reduce energy consumption, and also introducing LED traffic lights and LED lights in the system. So this has also been a huge saving because public lighting is 60% of our energy consumption. This is just a specific example of what you can do. Not going into details also about this. I can then, if you have some specific questions on the projects, I can then explain to you. This was a project on a social housing building, so it was totally refurbished. You see on the right-hand side some images of the insulation of the building, and the big picture, it's a solar panel which actually does two things. It produces electricity, but also hot water. So on the same area, you produce a lot more energy than if you had these two technologies separated. And it's been working for quite a while now, and people living there are very, very happy with what happened in their building, which is municipality owned. So we will do a small break because I'm pretty sure that it's more interesting to go back to Miro and play again a little bit with our tool. So I would like to know, yes, if there is any question at all for now. Did anyone have difficulties going to Miro? Do you have any questions about this a bit of framework I did about your expectations? If you want to share it, just feel free to do it. And if not, no problem. We can go to Miro. I will pass the floor to Pedro. Are you there, Pedro?
Yes, I am. I was just typing in chat. Now that you saw a few examples from Almada, let's think a bit about your ideas. So, if you can stop sharing your screen, I will share mine.
So as Pedro links the Miro board again, the idea here, well, I've mentioned some specific projects that we have been developing, and now the idea is that you think of projects that could happen in your area and list them, and then Pedro explain how the low-hanging fruit exercise will work.
Can I just remind everyone that the link for the Miro is in the chat? So if you didn't have the opportunity to join us, I see that Nika is, don't worry, Nika. I will just briefly explain before we do the exercise. So let me just.
So yes, for now, we will just see how Pedro, we will just see how Pedro does it, and then we will give you some instructions on how to do it.
Again, a reminder, if you are lost in the full big board, just click here on my name and you will be brought back to what I am seeing. So what we see here is a tree, and the idea is to you put ideas or fruits in commas to this tree, and the ideas will be put more or less according to their complexity. So we just gave some ideas like running around to heat up. It's the most basic, it doesn't cost anything. Of course, it's not a very important measure. Change of light bulbs, it's not that complex. So it will be an idea that it's more easily achievable. So it's what we call the low-hanging fruit, because the fruits, well, they are not the best fruits, but of course they are easier to pick. And then, for example, the refurbish of local authority office, which is a little bit more complex, requires a little bit of investment. And then the best fruits, the juiciest fruits, are on the top of the tree, like change of public lighting for 100% LED. So this is very expensive in terms of investment and requires a very complex framework. So these are the types of ideas that we may think, okay, these are the best fruits, but of course they are the hardest to get. So the idea for you is just to write some notes, some projects, whatever you think about, and you write the idea, and then you drag the idea to the tree, and then we will see a very big tree with lots of different fruits and lots of different ideas. But this is just a small exercise to get some inspiration from your part, because we want to learn from you too. And of course, if you need more ideas and projects, I'm going to copy and paste more red squares, well, not squares, but red icons. So at the moment, we have a parade of cooling systems, renewable energy at municipally owned buildings. Nice. So these are middle. Communal waste to energy, replace old evaporate air coolers with efficient ones, and retrofit building facades. Okay.
I think, Pedro, if I'm not mistaken, that this is an exercise that is also included in the resources that you shared with participants beforehand. And this is a nice way to have a full picture of a project and how they could be really interlinked in between each other, and how the smallest one can actually be functional to the biggest one.
Yes, I did this for the first time in a workshop in a thematic event of a EU project. Oops, sorry, let me just put the tree back in place. I was trying to block the tree, but I don't know. I did it the last time, but now it's not working. So okay, I'll just check if it's working fine. So the first time I did this exercise, it was in a thematic event. So if you don't have room in the tree, don't worry, you can just put it right next to the other ideas, because the tree now is getting full. But it's nice. So now we have first action related to public transport, which is nice. Okay, the tree is bigger now.
Pedro, we start to have questions coming in. Bonnie Hassan is asking to everyone, is mentioning that they are planning to implement climate-related project in Rajshahi, I hope I'm pronouncing correctly, apologies if I'm not, city in Bangladesh. And he is asking suggestions on in which sectors they could start to focus on.
Well, it will depend on which is the sector. Usually, I would say that the buildings and the transport sector are the responsible for the biggest energy consumptions. So I would say that, for example, a good initial project is to focus, for example, in a public building that you own, that can be refurbished or have introduction of renewable energies, and start by there. Also focus on climate or heating and cooling needs for the general public, because usually that's also a very large energy consumption sector. But I would say transport and buildings would be generally the biggest energy consumption sectors. And if you can start with a public building or a municipality or a regional owned building, probably that would be a good place to start, because then you can showcase good practices. You actually own the building, so you can do the interventions without any bureaucratic complications, at least in theory. That would be my recommendation.
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I would just add, Pedro, that anyone can build their own tree with their own projects. This is just to give a rough idea of the kind of project. And once you build your tree, you can also check what are the low-hanging fruits that you have there. So projects that are very easy for you to start, and you can start from there, and also use this very smaller, easier projects that have a good impact to also think of using them not only to push this kind of climate actions, but also to start testing how you will fund them, and then start to scale up, go up on the tree, and get bigger projects inside this pool. This is exactly what we have done. So the exact projects will depend on your needs, but start from the smallest one that you know they will be successful, and then climb up the tree to the most difficult ones. So we are now a bit late. So I will go back to my, if you want to
Okay,
keep
I'm going to
on
stop
working.
sharing my screen.
I will go back to the presentation, and I will try to be very brief, because actually the second part of the presentation should take a bit more time, but I will be very brief, and then we can discuss together when we start doing the work in the funds. So I noticed that there is another question in the chat box. So for climate change. So yeah, so basically for Tori, the main topics and the main issues and sectors they are working on is the same as Pedro already mentioned, and where we also started working. So talent management and public lighting in our case also makes sense, but this will depend also on your context. So going back to the presentation. So we have now a big list of projects. How do I finance these projects? So first of all, for you to know that there are a big number of choices you can do, and lots of publications also you can see, and lots of projects that have been implemented. I will just briefly show you some examples, and with each example we have the link so you can go deeper. We also don't know in detail about all of these funds, but it's just to give you an idea of starting at the biggest ones and then going to more local ones, what you can do. So a typical example of a more top-down, although with some bottom-up execution of financing, would be to have some kind of external finance dedicated to climate, and this is an example where some financing from European Union goes through, actually from the UK, goes to other countries. And then there is a fund that manages this financing, but the implementation of the projects is led by elected community committees. So, and they are in link with the local government, and they use this money to implement their own projects. In this case, it's more related to adaptation, if I'm not wrong. But this is the sort of links that you can address. So it's it starts a bit top down, let's say. So big institutions like the National Treasury and the big fund and the public goods funds, but with a dedicated part on community driven projects that use this finance to build their own projects. So this is just an example. Another example is fundraising. This is an example from Brasilia, which you can find at a publication that was also published by ICLEI. So basically, you have here a partnership between a bank and the development bank. So here you have fundraising for some specific projects like public transport, photovoltaic plants, water use, and sustainable infrastructures. So all related to the sustainable development goals. So here it's a bit of a link between also the private banking and the the funds to implement the projects. Also, going a bit smaller, if you can say that, you also have the possibility of using community funding. This can happen when the community itself gathers and acts together to fund a project for the community in itself. For example, a photovoltaic plant that the people within the community really want to have, but they cannot do it alone because it's too expensive. But if 100, 200 people get together and put a very small amount of money, maybe they can build a photovoltaic plant that has benefits for everyone. So, and this is something that is gaining track a lot in our country and in Europe also. So and you have a very interesting publication you can check, and you have the link below. And also what you can do is also have an approach of going as a public administration, for instance, going directly to the communities. And here you have the soft loans and the revolving funds. Also, not going into detail, but what is a soft loan? It's just basically a way of lending money with lower interests or high times of payback. So with conditions that are very much more attractive than what you would get if you would go to a bank or to any financing institution and had to then bring the money back. So basically, local authorities finance in part the structure, and then this makes the loans possible for some beneficiaries that would not be able to get credit to develop this kind of project. So well, one question I have here is: are there any more of these examples? I would like to see if there is a volunteer in our group that could help us. Sylvia, I don't know if you want to.
With pleasure, I like to maybe invite Mr. Srivastava from the city of Gwalior in India, as to our knowledge, there is an interesting experience happening there. Is it correct? What about water revolving fund?
Good morning.
Good morning. So,
good morning,
Srivastava, could you please tell us a bit more about the funds that you set up in Gwalior?
Gwalior is situated in northwest, is the state of Madhya Pradesh. Current population of Gwalior is 1.5 million. We have so many water bodies. We have 2,500 water wells and bodies, and 2 rivers. Now urbanization is going on, so these water bodies are totally damaged, and it's converted into the dumping of solid waste and flow of sewer direct enter into the sewer, and we have no any sewer facilities last 10 years before, but we have sufficient sewer treatment plants, we have sewer network, we have the river of Sunrekha, the story of river of Sunrekha. We just regenerate of that river, just like a Singapore river, but it's you can search in Google also. It's the name of Swarnarekha river. It's the old myth of that is iron may become gold. It is come into the contact with the river. That's called the Maharaja Sindhia. Sindhia. They named Shivaji Rao Sindhia. The name of that river is Swarnarekha. The river is length is 13.50 kilometers. It starts from Hanuman Dam to Jalalpur Dam. Its location there. This river, 84 nalas are entered in that river. Primarily, we have starting work from initial point. So initial point we have cleaning all debris and all. We have to excavate that river in full stretch, and we have to make the center drain. Center drain. It's a earthen, or we have to put the perforated block for water recharging point of view.
Uh, uh,
Nala intercepting and diversion structure.
hello, hello, hello.
Yes.
We have to make the 84 nala intercepting and diverting structure. These nala are tapped with the screening, and that water goes to the sewage pumping station. Directly the sewage pumping station from 13 kilometers from, and this sewer or strong water or other water we have to treat it in STP. STP capacity is 145 billion liter per day. Now this Keshav is joining. Keshav is joining. I can send some pictures of Keshav.
Think that we had in the chat box shared a link so that participants can actually click and have a look at what is going on in Guanlure.
So, we have to regenerate that project. In this project, we have to intercept the nala structures, construction of sewage pumping station, development of boating clubs for boat club, food zones, and green areas. So now we have this area. We have to put the treated water, sewage treated water into the river. Actually, we have no water in that river. It's a seasonal river. So we just put the water from treated sewer water, and now we have to earning more than 1 million rupees in a year for social boating for the boating. And we have to sell the water also for irrigation, and we have to more than 10 million rupees earning from the other irrigation and other departments from. Now so many activities we are going on that area, some boating, recreational, and so many functions nearby the Sonrekha river, and also the Bollywood movie shoots are in that river also. So
thank you, Mr.
yes,
Srivastava. It sounds like a great example of requalification, and indeed the picture shows how different is the situation now.
Now and initially situation.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay. So thank you very much. If you want to have some details on the, actually it's there is a publication by IUC where you have some details on this project also, and other ones, and also it's a very simple publication. It's a short publication, and also with all of these concepts we have been talking about, and examples, specific examples, and this one is there also, so you can check it. It's the last link on this slide, and also, well, are there more examples? Well, if you go to this project, which is the Prospect project, you will find the publication with 195 different experience. Also, our fund is there explained. So there is a wide array of examples and things you can take advantage from. So I will go very briefly to our own fund to try to motivate you for the next exercise. So this is a kind of idea of interacting and revolving funds together. To be very simple, basically what happens, this is a scheme within the municipality, so not involving all of the city, but within the municipality. And basically it allows different departments in the city to have some budget to introduce energy saving measures. These energy saving measures have energy cost reduction that will then be brought again to the fund. So this will mean that there is more money available than for other measures in other departments. So this is a very simple way of explaining how this system works. So you would always need a first big amount of money in the budget of the municipality, and then this fund will be revived by the savings that you get from investing in the energy saving measures. So this is a very good way of starting to fund energy efficiency measures. Low-hanging fruits work perfect with this kind of system, and it would also make almost mandatory to have cost-efficient studies and to check that the projects are really going to be implemented. So I will also not go into detail, but one of the main aspects that we build this carbon climate fund as a revolving fund is because in our case, the departments don't pay for their energy. It's something that is done by the financial office. So people working in the buildings and managers of the buildings don't know exactly how much they pay, or at least they don't have to use that information monthly. So we wanted to build this to make sure that they would see the money going out and the money coming in from the savings, and therefore be more proactive in implementing these measures. So I have already explained a bit how it works. I'm not going into details. We can then explain it a little bit more once we see the scheme in our next exercise. This is the overall scheme of the system. We will also explain it a bit more in the exercise, and I could spend actually all of this session just on this slide, but I'm going to save you from this. And we will explain it a little bit more in detail in the Miro board, but this is the scheme that we have been using with some degree of success. So one thing that is very important when you set up this kind of funds is to have a governance framework, and you need to define exactly the names, or at least the titles of who is going to implement and who is going to push for the fund. And obviously one of the main things is to define who is the political person that will enforce, let's say, this kind of ideas, or that will support this kind of ideas. What we have here is our example. Also, when we go back to the Miro, you will do this for your own institution. So already start thinking, who are the persons that can be involved? Who is the political, the mayor or the councillor, or whoever that has some degree of decision making power that should be involved, and the fund will not work if you don't involve them. And then also think, sorry, a bit more on the management side. Who in the city, what's the position that in the city will guarantee the management of the fund, that all of the financing is correctly monitored, that the links between departments are well addressed, the departments or the community, it will depend on your needs. And also at the operational level how it will work. We also have here an extra point, which is the technical support, which in this case, in our case, it is done by us, by the local energy management agency, which is actually good because there is a degree of autonomy from the municipality that lets us look into the projects in detail and going into key indicators to see what can be funded or not, and then really check how it has been implemented and help that it goes forward. So last slide, just to let you know that the main advantages of these kind of schemes, we are not inventing money. We are actually making the savings visible, which is very important because sometimes people working, for instance, in the cultural department are not totally aware of these issues and they need to be involved. But it sure ensures available financing for energy efficiency and renewable energies. That's what EE and RES means. It also prioritizes measures. So we start up with these low-hanging fruits and get a boost and then go up to another kind of bigger measures. It ensures that we actually follow up on the projects, which is something that we were missing and that we really wanted to be more proactive in this area, instead of just promoting investment and then sometimes the projects are not totally monitored. And as I mentioned, it promotes the interest in EE, so energy efficiency, for some departments outside of that are not in their business to do energy efficiency. So thank you for your attention. I will not take more time on this presentation. You have also my email. Sorry, I forgot to place Pedro's email here, but it's exactly the same. So pedro.gomes@agnial.pt. We will now go to what I think it's more